Okay, and we are live. ¿Qué tal, amigos? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with another live stream, 7:32 p.m., the 4th of July, 2023, and coming to you here from the outskirts of Madrid, Spain's capital. And we're going to have a look at some of the main stories that have caught my attention in the press today, some comments too, and we'll also go into the chat section, check out what's happening there. Now, I've started a few minutes early today, 3 minutes early to be precise, so hopefully I haven't caught too many people off guard. But I've got something to do, so I've got to get the live stream out of the way today. If I can finish around 8:05, 8:10 if I can. So, first piece of news today, this one here. Pedro Sánchez is doing the rounds at the moment, visiting the different TV sets, talking to different journalists, and he has defended himself as a clean politician and has praised the CIS in the face of polls that predict his defeat. And I'll explain what the CIS is in a minute. It was the interview with morbid content. Pedro Sánchez visited the set of journalist Ana Rosa Quintana 4 years later, and the latter being very critical of the policies, initiatives and changes of opinion carried out by the Prime Minister. It was a tense meeting that lasted more than an hour, in which the head of the government spoke more than in other interviews of his change of position on Western Sahara, denying that this is the case. In response to criticism that his unilateral turn, which all parties agree on, including his partners, could be due to the hacking of his mobile phone using the Pegasus espionage program, also used by the CNI with pro-independence leaders, Sánchez has defined himself as a clean politician. I'm not perfect, but I am clean, in reference to the fact that he has nothing to hide and is not the subject to blackmail by Morocco. So this was the scandal a few years ago. Pedro Sánchez had his mobile telephone hacked by this Pegasus software, which I think comes out of Israel, but don't quote me on that. And of course, shortly after finding out that the phone had been hacked, Mr. Sánchez changed his stance on Western Sahara, improved relations with Morocco, soured relations with Algeria, and some people, the skeptics, think that maybe they found something on his phone that caused him to change his opinion on that matter. I don't know. Those are the rumors. And of course, as we saw in the headline here, praises the CIS. The CIS is one of these government think tanks which puts out positive government information, especially when it comes to polls, to see what's happening in the lead up to elections. Normally they say that the government's going to win hands down, where all of the other polls around the place say that perhaps the opposition parties are going to win. And we saw this before the municipal elections. The CIS polls were completely wrong, and they have been getting it wrong for a few years now. But as I said, it's a government think tank, the CIS. And the leader of the opposition, Mr. Feijóo, came out today and said that the first thing that he's going to do when he gets into government, if he gets into government, I should say, is remove the head of that CIS organisation, Mr. Tezanos, I think his name is, who's very pro-Pedro Sánchez. So we'll see. Now, the next piece of news today, first criticisms from Sumar on the universal inheritance of 20,000 euros. We don't like coffee for everyone, they say. The leader of Sumar, Yolanda Díaz, has managed to position herself in the electoral pre-campaign by attracting the spotlight to her most imaginative proposal, that of a universal inheritance of 20,000 euros that would be paid to young people from the age of 23. A new right, as she called it, when she announced it in an interview in El Mundo, which has not only sparked criticism from both the right and the left. If it was first the socialist minister Nadia Calviño who questioned the measure, the misgivings now come from Sumar itself. Specifically from Compromís, the Valencian party, one of the most important pillars on which Díaz's platform rests. Its spokesman in the Valencian parliament, Joan Baldoví, could not have been more graphic on Tuesday about his opinion of universal inheritance. We don't like coffee for everyone. And basically what he means by that, if you're not familiar with that expression, is that café para todos is an expression that they use here when the government will give some type of subsidy open to the general public regardless of the financial situation of that public. So when they say a universal 20,000 euros for everybody turning 23, it doesn't matter whether you are the son or daughter of the richest person in Madrid, you're going to get that 20 grand. And that's what these political parties are complaining about, that maybe, just maybe, it would be a good idea to means test people to see if indeed the 20,000 would come in more handy for them than for some others who, as I said, perhaps don't need 20,000 euros. That's the question. A few years ago when they had a Café para Todos baby check, they gave 2,000 euros to everybody who had a baby at that particular time. It doesn't matter whether you were rich or poor, middle class, upper class, lower classes, you got that 2,000 euros. And again, some people say, well, if you don't need it, why do you get it? Maybe it's better off going into the hands of somebody who needs it more. Difficult decision to take. But Ms. Diaz promising 20,000 euros for people that when they turn 23, for everybody who turns 23, 20,000 euros in the bank. And you might be asking the question, where are they going to get this 20,000 euros from? Well, they're going to tax the rich, and that's where they hope to finance this scheme from. 10 billion in extra taxes on the rich and going to the 23-year-old. So party, party, party. Next piece of news here. Council of Ministers has approved the end of face masks in health centres and pharmacies. The Council of Ministers has approved this Tuesday the royal decree that puts an end to the obligatory use of masks in health centres, hospitals, pharmacies and socio-health centres, as confirmed at the press conference following the Council of Ministers. Its entry into force will be effective on the same day of its publication in the BOE. Now, I'm not sure when this is going to be published, maybe tomorrow, maybe on Thursday, not sure, but as soon as it is published, you will no longer need to carry a face mask if you're planning to go to the chemist or the pharmacy here in Spain. Also, if you have a doctor's appointment and other, as we saw there, other socio-health centres. Yeah, we can finally say goodbye or to the end of the mask here in Spain. So it's been a long time, I think close to 3 years, but it's finally gone away. And I, for one, every time I think about going to a pharmacy, I realise that I don't have a mask on me and I can't go in unless the pharmacist has an extra supply and is willing to give them to his clients or his or her clients. That could also be the case, not sure. And the final piece of news, bad news for people in El Campello, Alicante, because the beaches are closed. And why? Because there's a strike, lifeguard strike. So there's a red flag on all of the beaches in El Campello, Alicante. Despite the sweltering heat, bathing is prohibited on all the beaches of El Campello. The red flag is flying on the 23 kilometres of coastline of the Alicante municipality. But there is no storm or jellyfish. The problem is that there are no lifeguards because they're on strike. For the days that we worked in May, they did not pay us the amounts, and now May and June are accumulated. They have made a BISM, a bank payment to certain people for amounts that do not correspond. There is no payroll. We were paid €8 an hour, and the company paid us on the paid on the basis of €3 an hour. We haven't received the payroll, says Raul Blanco, the workers' union representative. So there we go. €8 an hour working on the beaches down there as a lifeguard, and only getting €3 an hour. And some people with a BISM payment. If you're not familiar with BISM, it's a way that you can send money to another person through your mobile phone. If you have a Spanish bank account and a mobile phone, you can hook up to the BISM system completely free. And the Valencian community or whoever's paying the lifeguards there in Alicante using BISM to pay some of the lifeguards, not all of them, but some of them. So they have decided to take strike action. Tools down, fellas and ladies, there on the beach in El Campello. So if you're in that part of Spain at the moment and you're wondering why the red flags are up, that's the reason. The lifeguards are on strike. So bad news in the sweltering Alicanten heat. Now, into the comment section I'm going to go now. First one here from Elder Monkey. Coffee for under €2, even in Madrid. Coffee is over £3 now in southeast England, and if you get a mocha or an extra shot, it's between £4 and £5. Yet most coffee chains like Costa and Pret a Manger are packed out. Yeah, people love their coffee. That's probably why they're packed out, and they're willing to pay whatever it is. I've realised this in Australia, where you pay $4.50, $5 per cup of coffee. Yeah, it's an okay coffee. I'm not going to complain about it, but $4, $5, even $6 sometimes for a cup of coffee. What are people willing to pay for a cup of coffee? There's no limits, and we can see in the UK there as well. £3 plus, and if you want a mocha, £4 to £5 or an extra shot. So, yeah, I would question it, but as we saw there, coffee shops still packed, as pointed out by Elder Monkey in that comment there, Southeast England coffee shops, Costa Coffee being one of them. Another one here from Richard. I'm lucky having 6 bakeries here in sunny Caleta, Algarrobo Costa. We're spoilt rotten, but it's because we support those businesses. They all sell delicious cakes too. Yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it, Richard? Supporting those local businesses. Obviously, the reason that they go out of business in other parts of the country is because people no longer support them. They buy their bread because they're too busy to go to the bakery. They just buy it from the local supermarket. What I've noticed here is that the existing bakeries that we have are now suffering parking problems, because what people used to do, if you had a 2-lane road out the front of the bakery, people would park in one lane, the old double parking, but now they've put a bike lane down that road, so there's only one lane, and people are reluctant to double park, obviously. So you could say that some bakeries are losing even more. So if they'll survive, I don't know. So we'll see. But good to see that wherever you are there, Richard, I think in Caleta, Algarrobo Costa, bakeries still thriving in that part of the world, and you guys giving them business by going there on a regular basis for your bread and your cakes. Good to see. Another one here from Jose Antonio. It's been perhaps 3 decades ago that Spanish bakeries are disappearing. Every town used to have one, besides a church and a bar. It was so common going to the local bakery with a piece of lamb and some veggies from home, and paying €2 or nothing to the baker to use the spare heat to cook your own food. There we go, Jose Antonio. Don't know how long ago that was that you were taking your lamb and veggies to the bakery to use the ovens there to cook it. I don't know whether you can still do that. But yeah, Jose Antonio is right. In some of the big cities around the country, bakeries have been disappearing. The barrio bakeries, for whatever reason, probably because they can't compete with supermarkets. People are changing their habits. Lots of small shops are disappearing, or it gets harder and harder every year if you do have a small shop to survive, especially selling some types of food, because the supermarkets are strong, and they get stronger and stronger every year. And they basically sell everything that you can buy in those old high street shops, fruit and veg, butchers, all of those things. In fact, up until recently here, we didn't even have a fruit shop or a butcher shop, but now luckily we do. And if people don't want to buy their meat or fruit and veg in the supermarket, they have a choice. But for a decade or so, there was no choice. Another comment here from Tony. Hi, Stuart. Talking about the coffee takeaway culture. When flying internally in the US, many passengers get on the flights with coffee in their own containers and cups. Tony. Yeah, that was the big North American. I'd say North American because I suppose Canada's the same, where people have this takeaway coffee culture. Not so much here. Maybe in some of the central areas where there's lots of tourists, you'll see people walking around with a takeaway cup of coffee, but not necessarily there when it comes to getting on flights and things like that, I don't think, or at least on the flights that I've caught recently. I've taken a couple of flights this year. I haven't seen people taking coffee on board. Yes, buying it on board. You can buy a coffee on board one of those Iberia flights for €4 or $5, quite expensive, but people prefer to do that. But not taking it on. So the takeaway coffee culture, not yet here, I don't think. Another one here from Meat Money Milk. Ain't nothing like Whole Foods in the US. I'm yet to see supermarket in the European countries that I've lived in, Spain, France, UK, Netherlands, that even comes close to Whole Foods. Whole Foods, I don't know the Whole Foods experience, only what I've seen on movies and television shows when they go in, or some documentaries maybe talking about the Whole Foods model. But it does look to be a decent type of supermarket, is it? Or is it a fresh food outlet? Not sure. But here in Spain, I haven't seen them. Maybe in the UK, in London, is there a Whole Foods? Don't know. It rings a bell, but maybe it's something similar. I'm not 100% sure. But if there is Whole Foods outside of the North America, I'll say that again, because I suppose Canada also would have a Whole Foods. Let us know, because here I haven't seen Whole Foods yet, or anything similar. Another one here from Philip. Gracias, Stu, for your informative video. I'm curious, since the election is so soon, will the partidos blast the media with their political ads as they do here in the US? Enjoy your cold cerveza. Thanks, Philip. I will enjoy a cold cerveza once I finish this live stream. And the answer is yes, you do get political ads. I don't know whether they're the same as in the US, where they bombard your television screens. They do in Australia as well, absolutely bombard the screens. I don't tend to watch a lot of television, so maybe that's one of the reasons why I don't see them. But what you will see is a lot of advertising around the place, especially billboards and these big canvas advertising things that they put on the sides of buildings. They often pay the owners of buildings to put these signs on the side of them. Been some controversy recently. Vox has had a couple up, I think, that have been taken down. And there's another one that's a bit controversial at the moment, that is by the anti-Ocupa or the anti-squatter movement, I think, which has put a big one of these canvas advertising signs up on a building in central Madrid. And they've also been asked to take it down, I believe. You do see television commercials, but I don't think it's the same bombardment that you would get in some other parts of the world. That's just my experience. And the other thing that you'll see a lot here is that the different politicians go around the country, as they do in the US and Australia as well. But here you can get 10 politicians every weekend having what they call a meeting, a political meeting or rally, where they get all of their supporters to sit in the 40-degree temperatures and clap every time they say something stupid. And that's what it is. And that's how they get their message out there. And also Mr. Feijóo and Mr. Sánchez, as we saw before, dominating television sets, talk shows, and the like currently. And the final one here from Lockie Paulson, I think this is. 99.9% of politicians fail to live up to expectations. If you're expecting anything good from them, ... Yeah, that's the case. Sometimes I think they promise too much, or they realise that when they get into power, that the system is just too complex. I was going to say situation, but the system is just too complex to move things, to change things. Very, very difficult. And that's what we're seeing with Pedro Sánchez at the moment. All of the things that he said he was going to do, or he wasn't going to do before he was elected, or when he first came to power, basically were thrown out the window, and he changed everything. And now he's saying, "Oh no, I realised the situation and I had to change." And that's, I think, what a lot of politicians find themselves with when they get in. They come in a little bit naive, maybe a little bit green, thinking they're going to change the world. We've seen it in other countries. I won't mention them, but politicians that promised to change the world. And it just doesn't happen a lot of the times, because the lobbies are too strong, the political institutions sometimes are too difficult to change, the bureaucracy is difficult, and I think that's one of the reasons why politicians don't live up to the expectations that sometimes they set themselves. But that's just my opinion. Thank you very much for that comment, Lockie. Now, we're going to go into the chat section now. How am I going for time? 10 to 8. So I'm going to put the like icon on the screen first. If you haven't hit it yet, please do so. We're up to 64, which is the usual tally for this time of the live stream, the 18 or 19 minute mark. So if you can hit that like button, please, see if we can get it up to a decent tally today. 100 will be good. So hit the like button, please, whether you're watching on Facebook or whether you're watching on YouTube. At the moment, we don't have anybody on Facebook watching from my statistics here. Got one like, but nobody watching. Everybody's watching on YouTube. Now, I'm going to change the backdrop too. this is the picture today. It was sent in from John, and it's a place called Agua Dulce in Almeria. And a nice picture of the harbour there, the boats there, people that can afford to have a boat moored at one of these ports around the country, even though I imagine Agua Dulce is quite a small port. But it would cost a fair bit of money a night, I would say, to park your boat there or to moor your boat, probably a couple of €100, I would say. I have a friend who is looking to moor his boat in Ibiza, and I think he's been quoted at €450 a night. So I reckon it would be a little bit cheaper down there if you were a boater and you took your yacht or vessel to that port. Now, into the chat section I go. Let's see what's happening here. If I can get through the chat. Alan coming in from El Puerto de Santa Maria. 247th anniversary of the independence of the US from Great Britain. All is forgiven. Yeah, well, luckily you don't play sport against British countries, Alan, because they like to hold a grudge and they get upset fairly easily. That's all I'm going to say. So lucky they've put it behind them that you gained independence all those years ago, because I'll tell you what, Sani coming in from stormy Basingstoke, which is also in the United Kingdom, England. Playa Flamenca is Barbara, which is in Alicante, I learnt yesterday, the Valencian community. Hello, Barbara, regular viewer, of course. Andrew coming in from a wet southeast London. Hope all is going well. Thanks, Andrew, for that. What else we got going on here? Lorna, El Campello, visiting for a week in September. Any recommendations? Well, hopefully the beaches will be open by then, Lorna. I imagine that they'll get that industrial dispute that the lifeguards have got going on at the moment. I imagine they'll get that out of the way, hopefully. But we do have a few viewers from El Campello, Maga in particular, Irish Maga. And maybe he can send some recommendations your way, Lorna, for El Campello and other people that know the area. Gigi, the Camino specialist, coming in from Ribadeo, which is up there in Galicia, I believe. Ribadeo. I think it's on the border with Asturias. Lovely weather, outstanding seafood and wine. Hope all is well with our Spain Speaks family. Thanks, Gigi, for that. Hope all is going well on the Camino de Santiago. Richard coming in also from Pizarra down there in Malaga. 36 degrees today. Every time we come over, we get more knowledge of Spain. I had no idea there were so many wine regions. Yeah, absolutely, Richard. Wine regions everywhere you go in this country. The north, the east, south, west. Extremadura has decent wines as well. Red wines there. They've got some pretty bad wines, but they've got some decent ones now. The quality's getting better. Alicante has some good wines. I bought some recently. The traditional famous areas, Ribera del Duero, which is up there in Ribera del Duero is in Valladolid, I believe, going through that province. Burgos has wines as well. Ribera, Rioja wines, I think, in Burgos. Logroño, of course, famous for wines. The Basque Country has wine growing areas. Wine all over the country. Richard, you'll never run out, I don't think. Valdepeñas, Castilla-La Mancha. Cuenca has wines nowadays that are drinkable. Madrid also. So plenty of wine around the country. So try one from every area, and you'll probably never finish drinking. There's so many. And Richard also saying the Rioja Blancas and Ribera Blancas very good. A little bit expensive, I think. Yeah, so I always go for the Ruedas, which are around the 350 mark. You get a decent one for that, Richard. Rioja more of a red wine area, I believe, but the whites can be decent as well. Philip, number 7. Thanks, Philip. We saw a comment from Philip before. Good to see you here. Amanda's in the chat as well. What else? Cash being eroded as in the UK? Yeah, of course. Every couple of, every now and again you see a news story on the television saying that the end of cash is nigh. Just around the corner, and the European Union has apparently they're trying to guarantee the use of cash, because there are people that, of course, don't have credit cards, or they don't have an app in their phone that they can pay that way. So the European Union is trying to push for cash, but some businesses are going cash free. That's where the issue is. So they're trying to bring in a law, I think, to force businesses to accept cash still. So that's where we're at, Amanda, when it comes to that. What else? Let's have a look here. Mike in the chat, nice chair, just like it appeared in my Barcelona apartment when I rented out. The renter left it here. Tassin endorsement rocks. Thanks, Mike, for that. What else we got going on here? William coming in from 15-degree Glasgow. A bit chilly there. The opposite to where I am currently. Renan is coming in from a humid LA. Not humid here, quite dry to be honest. Digitech Nomad is coming in from Malaga. Digitech Nomad, the monkey there with the sunnies on. What else we got going on here? 20,000, another incentive for young people in Spain not to work. Well, the idea is that they can set themselves up, I suppose. That's the idea. 20,000 euros in the bank to spend on whatever you want. You could start a business. You could put a deposit down on a home. But, of course, some people will no doubt spend it on things that they shouldn't. But, 20 euros in the bank, there's no control. What can we expect? But some people, as I said, will use it wisely to set themselves up. And I think, as I said, that's the idea that Yolanda Díaz has, that young people can set themselves up by taking money from the rich, Robin Hood style, and giving it to the poor or people that she thinks need it. She thinks needs it. Pauline coming in from a 30 degrees Rojales, sitting on the terrace, drinking the Governor just before dinner. I saw it in the supermarket today, the Governor, $2.75 a bottle. Didn't buy it, but I saw it there. Let us know what you think of it, Pauline, whether it's up to scratch. Erica coming in from Terrassa. No storms yet, hoping everyone is fine. Pueblo, no rain. There hasn't been rain for a while, right? That's it. It's a problem. Jeffrey coming in from Cuenca. 2 bakeries in a town of 800 people, double since 2 years ago, which both seem to be doing a healthy business. So we don't buy bread in supermarkets because we want to support our Pueblo. Absolutely, that's the idea, Jeffrey. But not everybody shares that idea, unfortunately. Alex coming in from Panama Beach, Florida. People don't respect flags in the beaches because they claim the government is restricting their freedom doing so. As a result, we had like 11 drownings in the past 2 weeks. Yeah, well, that's the old civil liberties thing, isn't it? You don't like people telling you what to do. Red flag doesn't, the red flag is not for you. So you go swimming in potentially dangerous waters because the red flags are up sometimes for a purpose, not an El Campello, but they're up because they're on strike. So I imagine you could take a dip safely there in the Mediterranean. But I know in Australia they recommend swimming between the flags, but of course a lot of people don't. I myself have never swam between the flags except when I was a young nipper down there on the beaches. I used to have swimming lessons at the beach, actually, and that wasn't between the flags. But, I think here in Spain, they're a lot stricter. Portugal as well. Portugal, if they see you swimming outside the flags, sometimes they come over and, tell you to get between the flags. I've never seen that in Australia, but then again, it might have changed. I don't know. But you got to be careful. People do drown. Australia has a drowning problem as well. People underestimate the strength of the ocean, the undercurrents, and the waves. Yeah, digital text saying that Whole Foods has a huge place in London. Yeah, I thought I'd seen one there. I think it was in Kensington, was it? That I saw a Whole Foods. I think I even went in. I think it was Whole Foods, but Digitech confirming that. Mike also confirming that there is one in London. There we go. So I was right. Bakeries, as to bakeries, a lot has to do with the invention of instant yeast, which allows pre-packaging of flour. There we go. Whole Foods, whole paycheck. Expensive, no doubt. Andrew confirming that. Yeah, you need to win the lottery to shop there. £9 for a loaf of bread. They must be taking the P155. Absolutely. Jeffrey pointing out that his pueblo is in Cuenca. on the Albacete border. Yeah, I remember I went to Albacete last year, was it, I think, and I think I remember looking it up, Casas de Benítez. It's not far from Albacete, although it's in the Cuenca province, of course. Probably wine grown in that area too, Jeffrey. Confirm that for me, please, but I think there would be wine in that area. Whole Foods is under the Amazon umbrella. There we go. UK, Canada, and US it serves. Obviously not Spain yet. Dawn is like number 60. Thanks, Dawn, for hitting that. We're up to number 97, so we could hit the 100 mark shortly. Mark coming in as well, saying hola. Hello, Mark. Hope all is well. Any recommendations for pet insurers for a dog? Don't know, Kevin. I've got no idea. Probably a good idea to get insurance, especially if there is a risk of some type of injury to the dog. You want to be covered because vet costs can be expensive. So a lot of people getting their dogs insured nowadays. Probably a good idea, but I can't help you with that. I'll look into it, though. Dawn's in Mazaron in the Murcia area. A lot of foreign people living in Mazaron. Popular area. Warren coming in from San Antonio, celebrating the 4th of July there. We got a bit confused yesterday. Somebody said it was a holiday. Maybe it was a double holiday in the States, Monday and Tuesday. Not sure. Erica says there's some good bakeries where she lives in Terrassa. 3 supermarkets, 2 convenience stores, all kinds of shops. Super convenient, only 5 minutes walk from the flat. Yep, that's what it's about, Erica, isn't it? You can get everything close by if you live in one of these built-up areas. George coming in from a cool and thundery Derbyshire Peak district. They're in the United Kingdom. Ho, 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 holding a grudge. Bodyline is still being whinged about in Australia. Well, maybe it was with the generation that experienced Bodyline, Alan, but nobody nowadays complains about it. But aren't you going on? Aren't you going on at the moment? Wow. Spirit of the game. Spirit of the game. Please. Spirit of the game. Johnny Bairstow is, in my opinion, I'll use the word, a bit of a dunce because he stepped out of his crease. There we go, I've said it. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look here quickly. I'm heading to Alicante next week, says Jeff. El Campello is fine, there we go. They let you in the water, they don't mind the lack of lifeguards. I saw a picture earlier today with people in the water behind the sign saying beach closed. Yeah, I thought that might be the case. I mean, the lifeguards are there, of course, but the Mediterranean beaches, I mean, they're not the most dangerous beaches in the world, of course. You know, don't go in, with a skin full of pints. But be careful. It's obviously not the Atlantic when it comes to swimming conditions, or the Indian Ocean, or the Pacific for that matter. The Mediterranean, some parts of it can be quite calm, but always be careful when you go swimming in the sea or the ocean. Only in Antarctica says they still need cash, a lot of seniors. This is the point, isn't it? Lots of seniors, and that's what they showed on the news article. People sitting around in the Pueblo, don't even have a mobile phone. How are we going to pay, they say? We use cash, and that's it. Probably in a couple of decades' time, maybe, but currently, don't know. Bristol Airport is card only, no cash. There we go, Bristol Airport. So people are going to have to get their hands on a credit card. Ryanair is cashless also, says Richard. There we go, the cashless world coming in. There we go, that's exactly right. So we'll see what the European Union does. 365. It's 275 here, Pauline, for the governor. 365 where you are in Rojales. So what's that? 90 cents difference. Can't understand why there would be a 90 cents difference, to be honest, considering that Mercadona is from the Valencian community. So why would we pay 275 in Madrid? Don't know. Let's have a look. Marie says, about to be technically homeless in 2 weeks in Catalonia. Someone sent positive vibes my way. Yeah, well, positive vibes coming your way, Marie. I hope you sort that out and find a way to reverse Brexit. Probably have to wait a decade or so to reverse Brexit. Those things don't happen overnight. Referendums are pretty difficult to reverse in short periods of time. I don't know what it's like in the UK, but in Australia, if a referendum is unsuccessful, like, for example, the Republican referendum back in 99, normally 2 decades, a generation, I think, to change the situation. Now they're starting to talk about it again, but I think Brexit would be the same. What's it been, 7 years? Maybe another 10. And things might change, or they might not. Everyone might end up being happy with the decision. Who knows? Here in Estonia, it's only 15 degrees as well, says Regina. Missed the vacation in Ben Almadena last 3 weeks and can't accept the coldness here. This is not like summer. I would like to live in Spain so much. Yeah, I feel you there, Regina, in those colder climates, especially here when I'm sitting in my chair sweating. I can understand you, but I a little bit cooler I wouldn't mind, to be honest. I wouldn't mind. There we go. Whole Foods in Kensington. Exactly. That's where I thought it was. Kensington High Street. Exactly. I remember that because I was staying not far away from Kensington High Street. I'm fairly sure it was Whole Foods. I have been proved right. John coming in from a sunny California. Enjoying it there, no doubt. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look here quickly. Alan saying Aussie cheats. There we go. That's that bad blood that I was talking about. Can't get over it. Guy steps out of his crease because he's a bit, he's not switched on. Somebody throws the stumps down and you complain about it? Come on. Come on. Let's get serious. Get serious. What else we got going on here? The Governor, Showman Bailey. There we go. The Governor comes up quite a lot. I've resisted buying it so far. What else we got going on here? Put the central heating on South London for half an hour. Run the pump. Celery's moving. Rain stop play at Wimbledon on some courts. That's right. Wimbledon is on as well. Although Australia's number one tennis player is not playing this year, Nick Kyrgios. I'm sure some people are happy about that. Governor $3.49 at the local Mercadona there. So varying prices. That's what I'm finding out about the Governor. $2.75 here, probably because not many people buy it. But in those areas, the coastal areas where there is a Governor following, $3.49 and $3.65, according to Pauline before. Australia, lots of people do drown every year, unfortunately, in the oceans there. They go to uncontrolled beaches and end up getting into trouble. Got to be a strong swimmer. And even if you are a strong swimmer, you can still get into trouble, so you got to be careful. The Governor in Torrevieja, $2.85. So there we go. Again, different price. So we'll get to the bottom of that, but it is difficult to work out the exact price of the Governor. And Miguel pointing out that supermarket prices change by location. Mercadona prices in Pedralbes are higher than in Hospitalet. That is true. And also the products that they sell is also different according to the neighbourhood. If you go to a well-to-do neighbourhood, you'll get different products than in a working class neighbourhood. That is for sure. $2.85, we saw that one before. Now, I'm going to wrap the live stream up. Thank you very much for watching today. I'll be back again on Thursday with another live stream. We hit the 118 like mark today, so happy with that. Thanks for participating in the chat. Even though I was my cricket team was called a cheat by somebody there. I won't forget that. But you guys have got the chance in a few days' time to take your revenge up there in Leeds with the rowdy crowds. I'm sure they'll have their slogans and their chants ready when the Australian cricket team takes the pitch in the Headingley Test. So we'll see. And you might have an opportunity to win this one, considering that basically you lost the last two when really you should have won them. So I'm going to say goodbye. Hasta luego, hasta entonces, adiós.